This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
This is
Namaste, Vanakkam, Adab to all the viewers of Bharat Media. I'm very, very happy that you've joined us today on Rubaru. This episode of Rubaru is going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be captivating. It's going to be engaging. It's going to be emotional. I promise that you will be informed, you will be educated, and you will leave this show a better person today. So stay tuned, and I will introduce you to the guests who are doing an amazing, amazing job. Let me start with Mr. Pravesh Sippy. Mr. Sippy is a very well-known producer in the Bollywood movie industry, and we will talk to him a little bit more about all the work that he's done and the reason why we have him here today. And I will introduce by name all the people, and then I'll tell you what the connect is and what the thread is and the reason why we have all of them here today. The second person that you're seeing on the screen is Mr. Tarique Mohammed, and he's a very, very engaged social activist, and he has done some commendable work in India in the grassroots of the Indian population for homelessness. And we are going to talk about that subject a lot today. And last but not the least, I have Mr. Kireet Khurana. And Mr. Khurana is a very well-known filmmaker, director, animator. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about animation, Kireet, also. So be prepared to, get a little bit technical with our viewers as well. So the reason I have all these wonderful, eminent people here today on our panel is because they have come together to create this film. And the name of the film is The Invisible Visible. And that itself, the name itself is giving me goosebumps even as I'm presenting that. So we are going to talk about this brand new documentary that all of these three gentlemen have come together to create. And we are going to ask them about the topic of the film and how the film got made and the process and the thinking, and most of all, the impact that this film has had on India, the Indian population, as well as the people who are watching it, and how it's going to be what we call impact cinema. So without further ado, I know that was a really long introduction, but I want to dive into the conversation here really quickly. So we are going to talk with all the wonderful people here who've been connected with the film, The Invisible. So this is for the people who've just joined. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Sippy. You are kind of the as an executive producer of The Invisible Visible, you are kind of the karta dharta, so to speak, of the film. So tell us a little bit about your engagement and your attachment to the film and how your connection started, please.
It's all thanks to Kireet Khurana. It's his vision, his perseverance, his belief, his passion that has brought all of us together. How Tarique and he met is another story that maybe Kireet will talk about. But we learned about all of this, and I could see Kireet very physically, emotionally, sort of, moved every time he met and heard stories from Tarique and came back into the office, or on the phone when we chat, and he so this thing came about, and it's all started with Kireet's belief in this and wanting to tell this story to the world. We all have one mission: try to make this world a better place, try to make people just understand what is out there. We choose to ignore it, and that's why the invisible visible. So it's there, and we choose not to see it. But it's all thanks to Kireet, and the karta dharta part is is again thrust upon me because I blindly believe in Kireet and his creativity. And once he decides on something and says he wants to do it, I just do my thing blindly. Whatever
Blindly go
comes my
with
way
it.
is handled for him. So that's our understanding and our work ethics between each other. So it's
Wow,
just a pleasure working and being associated with him.
wow, that's a great segue into Kirit. I'm going to ask you next. How did you get involved with this project, and what was it your creative brainchild? How did you come upon the topic? Let's tell the viewers a little bit about the topic, because we've until now we've only talked about the title of the film, which is The Invisible Visible. Please tell us a little bit about the content of the film and how it kind of germinated in your head.
So first of all, Dee, I would like to tell you that I am the most blessed person on this world. I have great relationships like Pravesh, who actually we disagree on many things, but we completely trust each other as well. And there's immense amount of I would say trust and love that we have for each other. That if I tell him that this is what we should be doing, or we should he doesn't question it. I mean, he does question it. Of course, it's his job. I don't want just people who would be yes men. So I think it's a great relationship that I have with Pravesh. And of course, I'm incredibly blessed to have people like Tarique in my life who actually complete me. So I have been making films on various social causes, and by virtue of which I was invited to this fellowship program called the Aspire Circle. And when I went to the Aspire Circle, these were basically Aspire Circle is a group of enlightened social leaders, and there are 125 now. There are about 250 of them. At that time, about 125 leaders, and I felt like out of place over there. I felt like I was miscast over there because I was the only filmmaker. Everybody else was actually working on the ground, and they were actual social workers or social activists or CSR heads or whatever. And of course, in our cohort, about 8, 10 of us, all of us got together and we would share our stories of why we are here and what do we want from our lives and what our raison d'etre is, our reason to exist. And every time Tariq spoke, everybody would be moved to tears because he was working with the homeless and he has sacrificed so much. And he was talking about the invisibles. Essentially, there are 70 million invisibles, which is the homeless people, the destitute. There are 70 million of them, which is more than the population of France. And I was like, it's incredible because nobody has ever made a film on them. Nobody actually cares about them. So they are actually truly the invisibles. And our job is to visualize them. As a filmmaker, it's my responsibility to visualize them. Then, of course, it took me a few years before I convinced this man, whom I consider to be the messiah of the homeless, although he doesn't want it like that. He's nodding.
I can see him shaking his head.
His head. So I know he's uncomfortable with that, but in my eyes, he is that. And so it took me a few years because he didn't want a film around him, and I thought that the film had to be anchored by him. He wanted a film just on the cause, and I said, yes, we will cover the cause, but you need that every cause needs an anchor. It needs a champion. It needs an evangelist, and you are the person who's going to evangelize it. And you,
Right.
because you are the one working not just at the ground level, but at the advocacy level as well.
Right.
So, and you know, your life gets cleansed when you're around with people like Tariq. You become a much better person. Uh, you become a more refined, a more empathetic person. There were a lot of insensitivities that I did not, although I considered myself to be a sensitive person, but there were a lot of insensitivities that I had that I got aware of just being around with people like Tariq. So I'm truly blessed to have relationships like them, both Pravesh and Tariq, with me, and I think the invisible visible is just a dream come true for me in that sense.
Wow, wow, what a beautiful introduction to the topic of the film. It's just amazing that the attempt here is to make the invisible, and you're right. You are driving in the streets, you're walking on the streets, you see them everywhere, and I think we've become so immune to that visual that we don't even give it a second thought anymore. When we do that in India and you see that, it doesn't, nobody bats an eye. And the fact that, Tarique, you are bringing this to light and you are doing such amazing work, that is just amazing. Kudos to you for that. Tell me a little bit about you, Tarique. How did you get interested in the issue, and how did you get involved? I know you were a reluctant participant in, on screen in the film, but tell me a little bit about your background and how did you get connected with the cause of homelessness in India?
Thanks for having me for this conversation. I
Sure.
think for me it was actually entry was accidental. As Kirit sir was saying, these people are invisible. I mean, they are invisible because we don't acknowledge them, because otherwise they are visible. They are everywhere for all of us to see.
Yeah.
But we see them, but we don't see them. So
True.
it's not even the. I mean, one thing is that you are insensitive towards someone or a
Uh-huh.
particular group of people. It is
Uh-huh.
with regard to homeless people. It is not even that, because you don't
Mhm.
even acknowledge the existence. Even to be insensitive or to be opposing someone, you need to acknowledge the existence of that person. But in
True.
case of homeless people, we don't even do that. So you have a flyover, you have 100 people living there for 20 years, you see them, and
Yeah.
if someday you replace this set of people with another set of people, and I wouldn't know. It's like
Mm.
for 20 years you see someone, and it just, you don't know that that person has been replaced by another person. So for
True.
me, this started when I was I had just entered my undergrads, and
Mm.
um I saw some people sleeping on the streets. So it's not that I had not seen people like that before that, but something very unusual happened at night. This was Delhi winters, and Delhi is cold during December. And
Yeah.
I saw these people; they were covering themselves with newspapers, and
Mm.
because of the dew, that newspaper was stuck onto like all their body, and it was broken into smaller pieces. So this was very unusual, because we were staying in the boarding, and in the hostel we would have room heaters and blankets and everything. Still we would feel cold. So out
Right.
of curiosity, that how come somebody is using newspaper, I went. I want to admit that it was not out of any concern that I should go and see what is. I just went because it was newspaper. Maybe if it was not newspaper, I would have just walked by, like I would have been doing. I must have done earlier.
Yeah.
So I spoke to those people there, and two of the responsive have stayed with me. So
Mm.
one person told me that when we go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
we are not we don't know if we'll be alive the next morning. So it's a absolutely fit, healthy person who does not
Right.
have any illness. There's no accident happening, there's no natural disaster happening, there's
Mm-hmm.
no illness. Still this person, a 30-year-old man, saying ki, I'm not sure if I'll be alive the next morning. So this
Right.
level of uncertainty about life was something which was completely shocking. One wasn't prepared for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just 18, maybe few
Right.
months more than 18. So I could
Mm-hmm.
not comprehend what actually this meant. And then
Mm-hmm.
another person said that many times you are sleeping next to a dead body.
Oh, and
So
you don't even know it.
and you don't
Right.
even know that the person has died.
Right.
So this I
Right.
understood later on, when we started working with the homeless people, and we would rescue people from the streets. Many a
Mm-hmm.
times the when we would rescue the person, it would be almost like frozen. And
Right.
uh, so with this, I entered a night shelter where I started volunteering. After my classes, I would go to night shelter, and there I had several experiences which made me realize that I
Mm-hmm.
cannot uh, I cannot stay out of it. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
that was entry point for me. Otherwise, I had some other plans. Maybe those plans were made by my family or
Mm-hmm.
people around me, but this
Right.
was, I think, seeing what is happening, and there was this severe restlessness that came in. And I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't very clear in terms of the program. I would be lying if I say that I had this vision that we'll do this. Today we have more than 20 interventions, but there was not even a single intervention. All I knew at that point was that what is happening is wrong. So how can people die like this? So
Right.
even at that young mind, I was quite clear that these are all
Mhm.
preventable deaths. I mean, so for someone to die, you need a cause. There has to be a
Right.
reason why a person has died. These people are dying
Right.
without any reason, actually. You know.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
that was the starting point for me.
Hmm. Hmm. So, how did the two of you meet? How did you meet Kiri? What was
So
the
we
connection there?
Yeah. So we were part of this leadership program, that's fellowship, Aspire Fellowship,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's where we met, and we connected, and I think you meet certain people and you feel like within minutes you feel, there's this gut feel that you get, that you can trust the person. I think by personality, I'm a person who's very restricted. I don't open up very easily, but I think with Kirit sir's the way he approached me, or the way uh, uh, he was probably uh, paying attention and listening to me, and he wanted to know more. I think there was this trust and respect that was there in his when he was talking to me for the work that I'm doing. And right from the beginning, I've been told by, and I can't even count like about people telling me, do something good with your life, and what's the need to, I mean, you don't have to do this. So I think the way we started, the kind of conversation we had, there was instant connect, and where I could trust him, and I started sharing about my life, and we just grew, our bond grew stronger and stronger from there. And
Yeah.
then he
Yeah.
came up with this idea about we should have a film, and that is when I was like, I mean, I was actually, I thought he's just getting, because he is fond of me, so he's trying to do this.
Well, I'm sure that was part of the equation, but I'm sure the the work that you're doing was the critical part. Kiri, I
you
do
know,
want to ask.
there's something I
Go
need
ahead.
to add here because
Sure.
I
Sure.
do tell Tarique sometimes that he conned me into making the film because he was so. I mean, every time he would come and he would speak, and he would speak from his heart, and then everybody would move to tears. And
Right.
I was like, I would feel so guilty about my life, my existence, because here's a man who's actually selflessly working for the homeless. There's some details he has omitted because of the person he is. He was actually going to be, uh, he was headed into the IIT. He was a head boy in his school, and he was an iconoclast, and he was a really brilliant guy. And he drops all that, and he joins Tata Institute of Social Sciences and takes up a project work in the beggar's home. Uh, and how many people do that?
It
And how
takes a
many people
huge
actually want
strength
to
of
do
character to do
yeah,
that. Oh,
at
definitely at that
at
age too.
17 to do that? I mean, and then everything that you hear from him puts your life to shame because you really, I mean, I may have just made the film, but I've actually offloaded the guilt. So I tell him that he has conned me into making the film.
So it's almost like an atonement for you too, then.
Yeah,
Um,
for living the capitalist life that I lead.
right. Kirit,
Sorry.
I do want to ask you that. I think you were kind of undermining your, your accomplishments too, because I don't know how many viewers today know, but you did the T for Taj Mahal movie, and
That's right.
that's on the issue of literacy, and a very very poignant movie about literacy and empowerment, and how you have to help yourself. The government may or may not help you, there might be people against you, but you have to help yourself. So it's not like you were with this film new to a social impact film. You've done work
Absolutely.
like that before too, right?
No, no. So I've been making, as I said, the reason why I landed up in the Aspire Circle, and I was probably an oddball there, but it was the reason because I was making films on various social causes, and which is why I kind of they chose me because I had a social bent of mind. As a filmmaker, I think it's my responsibility to also talk about the issues that the society faces. And I
Yeah.
think that's our responsibility. We cannot just be here to sing and dance around the trees and just
Right.
make merriment. And a lot of the stuff that we see in Bollywood are actually degrading society. It is actually degrading our values. It's demeaning us, and it's debasing our culture and a lot of what we stand for. What are the values that we're teaching? You know,
I agree. And a lot of times I, as a viewer, feel insulted by how low the intellectual standards are in, in some of the, the filmmaking and the way things are presented. It's almost an insult to me as an audience saying, you know
right.
what, raise the bar here a little bit. So thank you for doing that. Um,
I have no
Pravesh,
choice.
oh, go ahead, Kireet.
I said I have no choice. I'm driven by my own guilt.
Pravesh, I want to ask you the same question actually, and you have done, commercial cinema, and you do come from that background. Some Bollywood blockbusters under your belt. Tell us a little bit about your thought process of, how do you go from, the Mary Jones of the world, for example, which again hit movie, yeah, hit movies. So yeah, don't fault anybody for that. Great movie. I watched it. Fun time was had by all. But how do you go from something like that to something like The Invisible Visible? How does that transformation happen for you?
Well, I went to film school in the US. I came back. I was born, brought up, lived all my life in mainstream cinema and Bollywood, with whom my father is, and uh, so I just had that platform, and that's what I did naturally. But at some point, I I obviously, as a filmmaker and as a human being, looked inwards, and that's when in 1996 I made Daira, the square circle, as it is known
Right.
internationally, and I think I pushed the envelope at that time.
Correct.
It was a film that was way, way, way beyond its time in India.
Ahead of its time for sure.
Talking about the third gender and issues like that,
Right.
and it made its mark globally, and that success obviously opened up a whole new avenue for me. But mainstream was the main thing that continued and had to continue until a point where it, like you just said a little earlier, some of Bollywood is really low down there, and I suddenly felt that myself, and so I said it's time to take a break from that. It's not just about making money, but let's, like Kireet said, we do make an impact with our films, no matter what kind of cinema it is, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a short film. He's won national awards for a short film, for a documentary, and for he's won several awards for his feature film T for Taj Mahal as well. We've won 3 awards for Invisible Visible, which has just kind of started its journey now, and.
Yes.
So it was important to do some good work, also for myself. So that's basically how I got driven towards this, and
And
now it's about balancing, because one has to keep it all running, and it costs money. So we balance
True.
it. Kireet makes a few commercials, and his bread and butter is taken care of, and we
You
all
know,
have to do it.
that's exactly what I was going
I
to tell you when I talk to some of the creative people. They say we do some of the work in order to finance some of the real work that we want to do. So I totally get that. That is
I want to. I
a,
just add to Pravesh. I just want to add to
sure, sure.
Pravesh's life as I see it, which obviously he cannot elucidate. Which is that I obviously interact with a lot of producers in Bollywood, so
Right.
to speak, whatever it's called, Indian film industry or Bollywood, and most of them are outright dishonest. And there's one man I met who was very honest that I can trust, and he's one of the rare specimens that you see that you can trust and you can work with. So it's not like I wanted to work with him. I didn't have a choice again, as I said. And you just want to just be in a space where you're not being messed over by somebody who's just doesn't have the scruples or doesn't have the integrity. And Pravesh is
Right.
more of that. Uh, so it's really good to have him.
Thank you.
Yeah, it truly does make an impact. And, I can see the genuine warmth between all of you as you are heaping praise upon each other. So, obviously, this entire project is a labor of love for all of you. So, I
Absolutely.
can see your passion. The passion's coming through very clearly to me. But I do have to ask you, Kireet, what is your, we talked, Pravesh just talked about the awards. How does it feel to win awards for your passion project? And at the end of the day, the responsibility of a filmmaker is to try and make an impact, and the commendation that you get with that impact making it has to be very satisfying, winning awards. There's the I was very impressed when I saw the Doctors Without Borders award. That to me was a very unique one. You see the international, the film festivals, and you see all of those awards, but you've even snagged the Doctors Without Borders award. So tell us a little bit about how it feels to then get validated via all these awards that you have started winning, or the film has
Right.
started acquiring.
So, D, to be honest, it has a different meaning now as opposed to 27 years ago when I started my career. At that time, it was all about ambition. It was all about getting the awards so that you could be noticed and you could get more work. But at some point, say around when I was 40 or 42, or maybe earlier, when I had made enough money, I had a house, I had a office, and I had a staff and everything. I had the infrastructure. My life moved from ambition to purpose, and the awards were just to keep, like, if I'm getting an award for Invisible Visible and I'm posting it on social media, it is not because I feel great about it, but because I want to people to see it, and I want people to talk about the issue, and most importantly, I want the funds to make my next film if possible. So
Uh-huh.
that's really what it is. It doesn't really impact me anymore, to be honest. And in fact, there were a few people who, film curators, who asked me, uh, "What would you like to send it for the awards?" I said, "This specific film is not for awards. If it makes an impact, I think I'll be fulfilled. I may win all the awards, but if the film does not make an impact of what it's supposed to be, I would consider the film a failure." And luckily, there's been a significant impact, which Tariq will share with you.
It almost feels like we've planned this interview, because you guys give me perfect segues to go to the next person to ask the exact question. That is exactly what I wanted to ask, Tariq. Tell us a little bit about the impact, and for the viewers who just joined us, the name of the film that we are talking about today is The Invisible Visible, and we are here with all of the gentlemen that you're seeing on your screen right now. And the question I'm asking Tariq at this point is, the film itself is about the issue of homelessness in India. So, what is the impact that your film has already done between the time that you made it and today?
I think before speaking of the impact, I just want to also state the reason why the situation, the condition of homeless people is the way it is.
Please.
Uh, so we have laws in the country where even being poor is something, it's offense, a punishable offense. And
Right.
the fact that we have such laws continuing is only because uh, collectively, as a society, we do not feel disturbed, we do not have any issue, any problem with such laws being there. So this apathy that is there for the poor people is the biggest factor contributing to the situation that homeless people are in.
Correct.
I'll just give you a small example, like, so during winters, say now, in northern India, you have a lot of people dying because they are sleeping out in the open. And the newspaper or the news, the reporting, the headlines would say that so many people died out of cold, so many people dying because of cold.
Right. The
And
yeah, the cold wave,
cold
and you don't
waves, and
understand
same thing.
that.
Yes, and same thing happens even during summers also, like, so there is
Heat
a
waves.
heat waves and so many people have died now.
Correct.
At best, what happens, you know i'll i'll at the max, at the most, I'll feel sorry about people who have died, but I'll not be able to hold anybody accountable for those deaths. Why? Because if someone dies because of cold, or if somebody dies because of heat waves, it's nobody's fault.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
a very, very carefully curated, crafted narrative that is being built around homelessness, where accountability has been completely removed from any state agency. Now, these people, if
Right,
they were dying because of cold, then I should also be dying because I am also in the same weather. These people are
right.
not dying because of cold or because of heat. They are dying for a simple reason, is that they don't have a protection from that extreme weather. So if
Correct.
I have a shelter, if I have warm clothing, I'll not die, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But
True.
if our news reporting was such that people have died because of, for the absence of shelter, people have died, then
Yeah,
accountability gets fixed. You know, someone will
exactly.
have to be taking responsibility of the shelters, and someone will have to be taking the responsibility of providing warm clothing, blankets, whatever. So
Right.
the biggest thing that this film, for me, as I see from the lens of my work, the biggest contribution and the most urgent need that was there for us was uh, telling people that it is wrong, it is you cannot stay indifferent. The biggest contribution that film the impact that this film has created is it has made people to, it has questioned people's apathy, it has questioned people's indifference, you know. So you can choose, you see the film, you can still choose that you will not feel anything. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you do that, you won't be able to claim, you don't be able to say that, you are a person who cares for people,
Right,
so it exposes you. So either you
right.
can remain indifferent and you can say it is okay, I don't bother if people die, but you'll have to
Mm-hmm.
accept that you don't bother if people die. Now
Mm-hmm.
if you really say that no, as a citizen, I am responsible citizen, and I feel if people are suffering, then you
Mm-hmm.
cannot stay out of issue of homelessness. So this, in a sense, to me, this film has actually made every single citizen of the country a part of the movement. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot stay out of it. So either you say, you have to acknowledge that there is a problem, you have to acknowledge that these people deserve to live, they are
Mm-hmm.
as equal as anybody else. And
Right.
this film very clearly states that state has a responsibility towards these people. So
Mm-hmm.
taking it outside the NGO, taking it outside the development sector, government, or any particular stakeholder, this
Right.
film makes every single person of the country responsible for the situation. So that's, for me, this was also a biggest reason why homelessness continues to be the way it is, and it is not, why it is not adequately addressed by the state. But this film is making people to, at least when people are watching it,
Mm-hmm.
they are not able to say that, oh, so sorry, a poor person. No, they're questioning why the situation is like this. So
Right.
the change is, earlier when you read the newspaper, so many people have died, you'll say, oh, so sorry,
Right.
if
And
that
move
is
on,
that,
move on to
yes,
the
and
next
move
thing.
on and move
Yeah.
on. That also, if you are really a kind hearted person, otherwise it won't even make that difference also. But if you're
Right.
really genuinely good person, you will feel sorry for the person who has died. But today
True.
you will not be able to do that. You are, this film is not letting you stop at just feeling sorry for someone. This film makes you question the status what is there. So for me, and this is what will change everything else, because I believe that any law, any scheme, any policy, any decision that the government makes is the reflection of the sentiments of people, what people at
Right.
large believe in. So
Correct.
that is where state will have to make laws. State, it is, for me right now, the way I see it, it is only a matter of time when such laws will be gone, when we'll have more comprehensive schemes and policies supporting homeless people.
Yeah.
Because very clearly this film is making people question the status that is there right now.
Right, and that is very interesting that I do have a follow-up question for you, but let's tell the viewers, let's give them a little bit of a deeper understanding of the laws that you're talking about. Let's talk about one of the things, that is the Beggary Prevention Act, and this was a 1959 act, and it criminalizes, homelessness almost. So please tell our viewers a quick little, tutorial 101 about how does an act like a Beggary Prevention Act, which is, it sounds like a, very noble act, how does that end up criminalizing homelessness?
So this law is just not, it's there in fact it's there in more than 25 states in the country, so it's almost like a entire country is governed by such laws. And more or less this is, it is a state law, because beggary has been classified as law and order subject, and law and order in Indian division of responsibilities, it falls under a state subject. So it is a state law, but almost like all states in the country have this law, and their provisions are more or less the same. So I'll just give some key features of this law. So under this law, police does not require an evidence to make an arrest. You do not require a warrant to make an arrest. And a
Correct.
person who is being arrested for an offense of beggary can be sentenced for a period of 1 year to 10 years. Now, 10 years of detention for begging, even if it was an offense, I don't believe it's an offense. And more interestingly, the way begging has been defined. So even if for someone who might feel that, so there is another counter narrative to this entire issue about organized gangs being there and syndicates being
Correct.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interestingly,
Yeah.
nobody, we don't have the habit of reading that the finer details of the law. So this beggary law, for example, it provides for 10 years of detention for a person who has been forced to beg, whereas it provides only 3 years of punishment for somebody who kidnaps people and puts them to beg. So it is actually, and whereas in Indian Penal Code, we have provisions where such traffickers can be booked as a non-bailable offense and can be detained for a 10 years rigorous imprisonment. That's the provision in Indian Penal Code. Uh, Now, what is happening is the way beggary has been defined, even for someone who believes that begging is bad, it how the definition helps in reinforcing the understanding of offense part of the construct of this issue. So for example, one of the clauses says that anyone without any visible means of sustenance is a beggar. Okay, so now what
Right.
happens is a lot of people with mental health issues, they are wandering around on the streets. Now the law
Exactly.
says if you are wandering around on the streets aimlessly, in simple sense, it
Correct.
says that if you are roaming on the streets, you are a beggar and therefore you can be arrested. Now we
Right.
have so many people who, for whatever reasons, who are on the streets because either they have not been given treatment, or they have been abandoned by their families, or they have lost their way to their families because of the illness.
Right.
Now
Right.
how can we, instead of providing them treatment, instead of providing them support, what we are saying is, because to provide a treatment you need to build infrastructure, you need to build hospital, you need to create doctors, you need to provide them free treatment, because they have no one who will pay for their treatment. This person is lying on the street. Now a
Correct.
simpler, much simpler thing to do is pick this person up, put him at some far off place and let him be there.
Remand home
you know
somewhere, or
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so that is how large number of, across the country, these beggars home, the so-called
Right.
institutions which have been set up under the beggary law, they have the biggest population there are of those people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Now, technically, if I were to look at the mental health law, then they all require treatment, they all require help, and there are those provisions in the law. But by changing the legal identity of the person, like for example, there are a lot of elderly people who are there on the streets, a lot of
Correct.
people with disability, trans persons. Now, all
Correct.
these people, the way beggary has been defined, all these people are actually technically they are people in beggary. They, I mean, say law says beggars. We don't use the word beggars. So technically, you make them beggars. Only one thing that the law is doing here is they are changing the legal identity of the person. If I were a mentally ill person, I'm taken wherever by a state agency, I would be given treatment. But because my legal identity does not say that I am a person with mental health issues, it says I'm
Right.
an offender.
Right.
And if I'm an offender, I deserve to be punished. And therefore, any punishment that is being given to me is legitimate. And once it is legitimate, nobody feels for me. So you
Nobody.
can simply take me out of sight,
Right.
using this law, and that is how these people are being invisibilized by the system itself.
Right. And
Essentially,
criminalized by an
and
act which
criminalized.
is, yeah,
And so now
yeah,
who knows after 10 years that person comes out or not. Say if I'm selling small articles, I'm selling
Right. Right.
things at a traffic junction. I'm
Right.
an elderly person who has been abandoned by my family. I'm trying to do something. I'm doing odd jobs, and I'm
Right.
just living my life. Now
Right.
you as a state come and you take me into your custody and you convert my identity into that of a criminal. I have
Right.
lived my entire life with absolute honesty, but in my old age, you are turning me into a criminal. So
Right. Yeah.
some of the very sensitive bureaucrats of officials say at least they are getting food, they are getting shelter. Now
Okay.
I have a strong contention with that, because I feel that as a country, as a society, we will never ever be so helpless that to take care of our people,
Exactly.
we
That we
need to
have to.
term them criminals. I mean, if the
Exactly.
idea is to give shelter, if the idea is to give food, why can't we just do that without turning them into criminals? We can just say
Exactly.
that yes, you do the same thing, rescue them from the street, take them to
Exactly.
them into rehab homes, and look after those people. We don't have to
Exactly.
tell them that you are a criminal.
Exactly, exactly. You said it so beautifully, Tariq. Really appreciate you explaining that a little bit. Kirit, I do want to ask you this. So, Tariq, the way he has been explaining the issue to us and talking to us about it, it's very obvious that he's been in the in the grassroots level. He's been working with homeless people for many years. Tell me your perspective. So the shoot itself, was an almost a 2 month shoot. And I'm guessing that you didn't have the level of exposure to the issue and to the people who, suffer from this issue as much as Tariq had. So tell me a little bit about your impressions when you started the shoot. Were there any assumptions that you had made, and were you prejudiced about something that when you went in there you were completely blown away? Tell us a little bit about what was the internal dialogue going on with you when you went from being, as you mentioned, a capitalistic filmmaker into then what I would consider a very sober and somber shoot. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So I am not a stranger to social causes and social issues. And as I said, I have worked with the marginalized and the disenfranchised, and I have
Correct.
done films with them.
Correct.
So I feel one of the strengths that I have is the ability to actually connect with anybody, even if they are people on the street. I don't see they are different from me. I feel like I could have been in their position had I not been born in a privileged family, and had I not had the opportunity.
Accident of birth. Yeah, yeah, true.
So I've just had that lottery in the genetic pool. I've just been a beneficiary of that genetic
Yeah.
lottery. So uh, therefore, I don't see myself different. I don't see myself different from somebody on the streets, or somebody, whatever. I think I can become one. So the other thing is that, as I shared with you, it took me a few years to convince Tariq, and of course, over the years, we kept meeting for dinners, lunches. He kept coming from my shows of my films that I was working on. I was not
Yeah.
prepared, and for the 3 4 years that I was with Tariq and I would share stories, I had a very good idea of what I wanted, and of course, we put a significant research team behind it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying that I was not surprised at what I saw there. I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying that, but I was well prepared. I
Uh-huh.
had done my homework. I had
Sure.
gone into the issue. I had understood what the issue is, and
Sure.
I understood what the issue with Muzaffarpur was, with the shelters
Uh-huh.
and where women and children were being raped.
Yeah.
Um, Children as young as between 6 and 14, 6 and 15 were being raped uh,
Yeah.
every single day, and 44 of them. So I understood those issues,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I would talk to Tariq for hours.
Mm-hmm.
I already had hours of those conversations taped and recorded every time Tariq came. So I would
Uh-huh.
ask him questions like Tariq said. The first thing that struck him about me was the fact that I was inquisitive. I was not judging that
Uh-huh.
he's. So that inquisitiveness was part of my journey to understand why is it so and how is it so that just 70 million people can actually be invisibilized. That
Yeah.
was stunning for me,
Uh-huh.
and so I don't think I faced any particular challenge. We actually shot over 5 months. We shot for
Oh,
52
wow.
days.
Okay. Wow. Hmm.
We shot for 52 days,
Hmm.
but it
Hmm.
was not like in one stretch. So
Ah,
when
got
you're
it.
shooting over 5 or 6 months,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
the process of actually post production again stretches for another year. So in all, we spent about I must have spent between meeting Tariq and actually making the film, finishing the film, easily 5 years, maybe more,
Wow.
right?
Hmm.
So you get a very good understanding of the subject. I'm not saying I'm a expert. I can never be, because obviously Tariq is the expert. But I think as a filmmaker, I would like to not be falsely modest about it. I think I have understood the issue well enough to be able to project it in the right manner and with the right intent. This is what
Exactly.
I would
Because it shows, because at the end of the day, it shows in the output. So it definitely is, something that you've dealt with very sensitively. So definitely, oh, I don't doubt that for a second. um, what I was looking from you was, the experience. Tell me how, doing it, and I'm even shocked that, it's that length of time, because it's a very hard experience on any human being. So I was thinking, 2 months of, back to back, you're done. But this is an extended period of time that has to weigh on you, as a human being, and the heaviness of the subject has to, kind of by osmosis come into you somehow. uh, that that feeling, that impact is what I'm looking for
yeah.
from you.
So basically, as I said, there are two ways it can impact you. Either you feel completely despondent,
Uh-huh.
you feel, or you shut yourself, like most people would shut themselves from the reality out there and said, "No, this
Right,
doesn't concern me."
right,
Or
right.
it makes you realize, and it makes you get in touch with your own humanity, right?
Hmm.
And it makes you a better person. It actually cleanses your soul in some sense, because you redeem yourself with whatever you've been doing. It's like taking a dip in the Ganges. Of course, dip in the Ganges doesn't wash away your sins, but the fact of the matter is that making a film like this definitely is a cleansing experience for me. And
Right.
spending so much time with Tariq, more specifically with his team, each one of them is pure gold. Each one of his members of the Koshish team is pure gold. It
Yeah.
is so amazing to be with them. Each one
Yeah.
of them has an extraordinary story to tell. Each one of them, I mean, I was like, and every time they would share, I would be moved to tears. Uh,
Wow.
so uh, I wanted more of it. It's not like I was trying to. The more I would be moved, the more I would want it. That kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. You're making me emotional just talking about it. And a second ago you mentioned Tariq and his team at Koshish. Tariq, please tell us a little bit about Koshish, and tell us tell our viewers who haven't heard of the organization what it is and what you do, and the work that you guys do under the flagship of Koshish, please.
So, Koshish is part of this University Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And so
Hmm.
we have like different departments you have in a university. At TIS, we have this unique thing called field action projects where we uh, experiment with social issues, and you also run real-time interventions. So Koshish is one of the field action projects where we work with homeless people, and we have intervention in different parts now. We are working in Bombay, Maharashtra, Nagpur. We are doing some work with the regional mental hospitals. We are doing work in Bihar. We're working in Delhi. We have done some work with the Rajasthan government. We're also doing a lot of work with the central government with regard to the national scheme. So now there is a national scheme which is not criminalizing homeless people or the beggary. It provides for a comprehensive rehabilitation, and the key officials from the ministry also saw the film, and they were really very very moved. I think this film has also helped in pushing for the things that we are trying to push for, like the issues that people live with and the kind of hardship they face. In a film, it became also obvious, like it was hitting them, so it became much more easier for us to convince the same people about the things that we had been trying to tell for a very long period. uh,
Uh-huh.
Also, I think this so we have a small team. It's a young team, young team in the sense that people started in 2006. We started with this work, and in the beginning I was alone for about a year, and then I had two people joining, and dheere dheere, we were able to get more resources, and team kept expanding. But and it's amazing team, as he was saying. It's a brilliant team, and people who are not there because it's a job. They are there because it's a mission for them, and they truly believe that it's like a fighting against injustice. You believe that what is happening is wrong, and it's your duty to kind of speak about it. So
Right.
that's the core of the team which we have, and people who have joined and they have stayed on for I mean, someone who joined in 2007 is there. So,
Mhm. Right.
person came in 2010 and then is there. So people came and stayed back, and a
Right.
lot of young people. Obviously, we didn't have a big team, so two support groups. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Young people making a huge contribution to Koshish. So a lot of students, volunteers, they are
Uh-huh.
part of our team. And
Uh-huh.
as an approach, we believe that we have to work with the systems if we have to bring in long lasting changes. So
Right.
we don't really believe in, there's nothing wrong with that. There are different approaches to
Mhm.
social work, but we
Uh-huh.
believe that engaging with the systems provide for large scale impact, for changes, and also
Mhm.
recognizing the fact there are good people everywhere. It's
Right.
not that people in the government machinery are all bad and they want people to be suffering, but
Right.
probably they never realized what was happening, or when they
Mm-hmm.
realized the level of investment was not so much.
Right.
Some officer might have felt that this is bad, but by the time
Mm-hmm.
he would realize, or he would begin to invest himself or herself, he would be out for some other posting. So
Right.
the level of investment that requires to change something of this
Mm-hmm.
nature was not there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we worked with the government, and in fact, all
Mm-hmm.
the states where we work in partnership with the government. In fact, our first collaboration with Maharashtra government was when there was nobody in the team. Government did not
Mm-hmm.
even know that there was no organization in place and there was no team. So we have been our core interventions have been legal aid, because we believe that this is not a crime, and
Uh-huh.
but it's illegal. So we feel that this illegality is the construct that has been done purely by the law. Otherwise, it's not a
Right.
crime. And we do a
Correct.
lot of work with our another major intervention is with people with mental health issues. So we work
Mm-hmm.
with some of the biggest mental hospitals like Nagpur Mental Hospital, or Thana Mental Hospital, where there are patients with 20 years, 30 years just staying there and having nowhere to go to. So we trace such families of such persons and we reintegrate them with their families. Uh, we of course have we do a lot of training works with the government functionaries. In fact, we are going to use the film now. uh, this scheme, the national scheme which is there, is now functioning in 75 cities across the country, and
Wow.
Koshish has been doing the trainings for the government officials and the implementing agencies, and we have plans to use the Begri law part of the film as part of the training resource for those officials, because this film has is a strong tool to kind of it tells you what the problem is, and it tells you what your role has to be. So we are going to use
Correct.
this film as as a part of the training manual with all these state officials. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Koshish has
That's,
over the years done a lot of work. So
yeah.
and we have something called Friends of Koshish. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who feels that
Yeah.
injustice or you know uh, 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 punishing someone for the vulnerabilities of that person is not fair, can be a
Mm-hmm.
friend of Koshish. You don't have to be physically close to us. You could be anywhere. You could just be spreading our approach, and you could still be a
Uh-huh.
friend of Koshish. So we trace the families with very limited resources. We are able to trace the families of several thousands of people and send them back because we have these wallets. So we use police, we use panchayat functionaries, we use local self governance, we use postal services, anybody, everybody, university students, as friends of Koshish, who help us in this work as volunteers. So I mean, just somebody, anybody who says that everybody believes that everybody has a right to live with dignity, and that person could be a friend of Koshish.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for such a moving advocacy for the cause and for urging people. You know, we as citizens have to do the work in order to help the government enact laws and do better for us as citizens. So that's wonderful. So I would highly urge the viewers today to get connected with Koshish and become friends of Koshish and help in this amazing work. My one other takeaway from everything that you just said, Tarique, is also the fact that this is not this film, and the reason why we're talking about it today is not because, oh, hey, this awesome team has made this awesome film that's winning awards. That is not the purpose of this conversation for our viewers today. The purpose is to tell you that this is just a step in the right direction of tackling the issue of homelessness. So the work that Koshish is doing, the work that Kireet is doing with his creative side, the work that Pravesh is doing with his oversight and finances and all the involvement that he has, it's just parts of the larger puzzle and parts of an ongoing work. So it's not a one and done. This is an small part of an ongoing work, and that's why it is so important, and that's why we are talking about it here today. Pravesh, I have a quick question for you. So I want to read a couple of comments that critics and people have said about the film. And I want to talk about what I took away as a common thread in those couple of comments. So one of the reviews that I read in The Hindu said, it's a documentary with a throbbing heart. Kireet Khurana's latest project seeks to secure hope for the homeless. And screenwriter and director Gauri Shinde said, it's powerful, it's heart wrenching, yet hopeful. And I found the common thread in both of those very appealing because when I, saw the trailers and everything, it seems gut wrenching. It seems very hard hitting. It feels like a shock and awe moment. But at the end of the day, if you walk away with it, with hope in your heart and an urge to do something about it, to me that feels like a very powerful yet a very soothing and a beautiful creative piece. Do you feel the same thing? Did you feel in your part of the process that the ultimate aim was to instill hope in people?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dee, because this was in fact one of the points that Kireet and I would continuously review while the film was under production, and we'd talk about it, and he would tell me or show me certain bits, or discuss certain elements that was playing up on his mind, and over the process we took this decision about how it was going to be, which is because a dark, gut wrenching, hard hitting, gory thing. Uh, there are plenty of films like that on plenty of subjects that give you that basic impact. But within all of this, because it is so heart wrenching. This subject, when you see the children, when you see the old people, when you just see the basic misery and you know the reasons for that misery, and all of that, uh, we just very clearly decided, like Kireet said, there was plenty of time while he before he actually got down onto the battlefield. So he was very clear, and we were very clear that we
Right.
will make it in this way, that we give hope to everyone, not just the people that we are uh, talking about and trying to help in whatever way we can through this film, but also to the people, watching the film, or getting to know about this issue, and let everyone know that there is something that they can do in whichever way,
Right.
and we just need more people and more avenues to showcase the film, and we've made the film for that. We want people to see it. So
Yeah.
we've had some great success in the past with our other films,
Correct.
showcasing it on one of the big OTTs. And this time, we've not yet gotten there where we can reach out to the wider audience
Yeah.
at an instant for an elongated period. It's
Yeah.
coming out, available to people to watch, for a couple of days or couple of hours. We are making it available, and we're
Right.
building up on it.
Right.
So eventually, I hope the OTT guys, and there are so many new avenues.
Correct.
Somebody from there wakes up and invites this film, and
Correct.
it's not a film that we've made, really speaking, to have our next mansion in Bel Air or wherever. It's not
Right.
for that.
Right. Yeah.
So somebody in the OTT, please wake up, please realize the value of this film and this message, and just let's share it with the world to make it a better place. You have the power, you have that space to showcase
Yeah.
this film, and that's
Yeah.
all I would want now. From it, it's these awards and all that, like Kireet said, is great. It helps us reach out to that many more people and get their attention.
True.
And it feels good, yes, but
Uh-huh.
all that is it. He's got 6 national awards and plenty of other awards in
Right.
his life, and I've got it all, from a national award to Filmfare awards to whatever.
Right.
It still means a lot, but it's not about that anymore. There was a time we worked for money, then we worked for these accolades, but now it's a different reason for our work.
Yeah.
So
Right in the beginning.
help us showcase it if anyone's listening. Show us a way.
Absolutely. And right in the beginning, you said, purpose. Kirit said purpose. And, Tarique, I'm hearing purpose. And that is, resonating with me quite a lot. I know we are at time. Before I let you guys go, Kirit, one last question for you. What would be, if our viewers today take away nothing else, and I heard Pravesh calling out to the OTT folks and saying, hey, put us on your channels, what would be in your mind, if nothing else, the audience, when they walk away from watching that movie, what is the one big takeaway that you would like for them to leave with?
I think the biggest takeaway is already there in the film. I have pretty much everybody who's seen the film is shocked by they do not know about the anti-beggary law. I didn't myself, so they do learn a lot of facets about the homelessness issue in India,
Right.
and almost everybody says, "How can we help?" And
Yeah.
really, that's really what our purpose in life is. How can we help? I mean, the idea is that there's a beautiful quote by Hafiz which goes like, even after all these years, the sun doesn't tell the earth, you owe me. And so the idea is that, that is very important. And of course, the second part of the quote is, look what a love like this can do. It can light up the whole world. So when
Oh.
you're and that's really what our purpose of our life is. We don't have to look around. We don't have to say, oh no, I don't know what to do with my life. The idea is just go about lighting people's lives, just helping people. That is
Right.
important. It is so, and when you help others, you help yourself. It's very simple. It's very, very
Abs-
simple. I mean, God has given me, and I mean, the cosmos, the universe is paying me back in whatever way.
yeah.
So that is enough. I mean, we don't need more.
Oh wow! What beautiful words! I'm so inspired by not only your guys' work, but even in just talking to you. This has been such an inspiring conversation from different angles from all three of you. I really, really appreciate it. I'm leaving here today as an enriched person, as a better informed person. And I am feeling the urge to get connected and do whatever little I can from my corner of the world. So thank you for uplifting my thought, and thank you for enlightening me. So I'm sure our viewers today will be feeling the same thing. I really appreciate your guys' time today. And for the viewers, again, please go out and watch The Invisible Visible. It is going to change your life for the better. And are there any last words from any of you that you'd want to share with our viewers today?
Yes, Tariq, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just want to say that this whole work is, it's not about geographical locations. It's not about India. It is about we as human beings. And if someone around me, if someone in my city dies or suffers out of hunger, it should bother me as a person. If someone dies or someone is suffering, is abused, and I remain indifferent, then it should bother me. It should bother me, and it should tell me that I'm not the person that I claim to be. And it is not at all about. So this, I mean, all the people who are watching this, I would really make an appeal that just look around yourself, and just make sure that the people who are living on the margins, the biggest deprivation that they have is of acceptance and dignity and compassion. Just they don't, you may not be in a position to do anything to them. Don't give anything they don't require. Just treat them with respect, acknowledge their presence. And that itself, you don't know, maybe somebody is already thinking today that I have no meaning in my life, because I mean, nobody, whether I live or I don't live, nobody bothers in this world. But maybe you going and just asking how are you doing can tell
Yeah.
that person that no, someone is there who bothers, who is worried about me, who has concern for me. And this one expression of your concern, your compassion towards that person can bring some purpose in that person's life. And this is something that all of us can do. Just I feel that if I'm wherever, whichever part of the world I'm living, and if someone is going hungry,
Yeah.
and I that should bother me. That should
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah, very, very well said. Thank you. Thank you for those beautiful words. Pravesh, Kireet, would you like to say anything, or did we cover everything today?
I think we've got it all. The
Yeah, I,
the men
yeah,
have the men have said a lot for people to process now, and
right.
uh, yeah, let's just leave it at that then.
Yeah,
Thank
Tariq
you
summed
for
up our
having me.
conversation
I would
beautifully.
like
Yeah,
I would like to just add here that thank you
please.
D and thank you Bharat FM for providing a platform
Oh, of
to for
course.
us to reach out with the cause to many more people, and wish you all the success. And I think all the good karma will pay back in a very
Yeah,
very
yeah.
big.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for your wishes. And likewise, this movie is, I hope everybody, in the world gets to watch it and be able to react to it and participate in your cause. So good luck for that. And
Thank
we
you.
are always there and supporting you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you
Thank
for
you
much.
your
so
time
much.
Thank
today.
you.
We
Thank
really
you,
appreciate
everyone
it.
at Bharat FM. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for joining us on
Bye
Rubaru.
bye. Good night.
Good night.